Hello, welcome to Informed Entrepreneur Magazine. I'm Mike Baumstark. I'm a small business owner myself, and we're all about promoting, informing, celebrating, and educating small business owners. Today, we do not have a small business owner with us, but we have a man by the name of Michael O'Connor who has been involved in helping promote and provide a lot of business to small business owners, and who himself owns a very large business among other interests, and is a very well-known person in the Washington, D.C. area. So I'm privileged to interview Michael O'Connor this morning.
Well, Michael, nice to see you.
Let's just start out with a little bit of background. People usually like to know kind of where you came from or what are your origins. Would you share that with us?
Well, I'm a proud Chicagoan. I'm the eldest of five, Irish Catholic family from the north side of Chicago. I worked for Richard J. Daley, the mayor to all of us. That
recognizable name, I'd say.
No doubt about that. No doubt about that. He was a great man to come up under, and Chicago was a great place to be from and to go back home to.
Yes.
I came from the mayor's office with the understanding that I was going to be brought back to Chicago to work for the mayor in a year and a half, 2 years tops.
Okay.
Sadly, the mayor died in that 1.5 year tenure, and I decided to stay in Washington for a while and see where my future might lead me.
Okay. So at that point, what did you do? Headed toward what you're running now?
Well, I was the deputy director of the National Institute of Governmental Purchasing. Our objectives were to allow for government activities to avail themselves of new technology, to change the procurement processes that in those days were very much low bid, design specification type of work, to a more progressive method of procurement, where you would it was the introduction of life cycle costing and value engineering, and you allowed companies to be able to provide a higher technology, a better product in a government procurement, and not worry about a low bid situation, which meant we had to change a lot of laws.
Okay. And over a period of time, this evolved into what a business now you own and we're sitting in called Facilities Solutions Group.
That's correct.
Right. And Facilities Solutions Group does what as a summary?
FSG is an organization that is obviously facilities oriented. Our core capability is understanding the space utilized by agencies and companies, and how that space affects the mission. We tell agencies what they own, where it is, how much of it is, and how the individuals that work for that agency are affected by the space itself.
Now, I recently in the news, I've seen stories about how many buildings there are that are owned or under contract by the U.S. government that are not being utilized well and could be better organized for economy. Is that anything you've been involved with?
It is, and I think what you're referring to could also be recognized as realignment.
Okay.
We have been responsible for the largest BRAC base realignment and closure.
The RAC.
The RAC,
yes.
Exactly. We have been heavily involved in a number of BRAC issues where you're downsizing or you are consolidating efforts from many facilities to one or two facilities. It really is the proper utilization of space as it affects the mission.
Which makes great sense. I was in the Navy, as I shared with you earlier, and when I was in the military, there were four to five different services, different uniforms, different attitudes, different equipment, and there was politics involved between all branches of the military. And since I retired, I've noticed that the purple suit concept has really come into full bloom, and I was actually kind of happy to see it. Did you participate in anything along those lines?
Well, again, we've been involved in an awful lot of new technologies being utilized and new concepts being utilized at the federal level. I think the whole idea of the introduction of this, the new sustainability efforts and the like, really come out of a proper utilization of the real estate that the federal government has.
Right.
And that's usually driven from the top down.
Could you just succinctly describe the term sustainability for the audience?
Sustainability is a term that has become loved and vilified at the federal level.
Okay.
It is, I believe, overly used. We in a past life called it energy conservation.
Okay.
The term sustainability really moves towards what does it cost the world, the planet, to utilize a specific product, function. It's kind of recognizing what something costs you back to fossil fuels.
Mm-hmm.
When someone says we are looking to be sustainable, it means we are looking to be as efficient as possible.
Okay.
We find that sustainability now is mandated, quite frankly, and has been mandated for quite a while. We are in an environment now where the government and private industry is going to have to report as to what their energy efficiency ratios are. This affects the sustainable aspects of the government, of a company, of a building, or of a household. You take a good hard look at the total cost of what it takes you to fulfill your mission or to have a household, and that, I think, is more or less what they call sustainability. Are you sustainable?
Which what you've shared with me could be grouped under managing and handling the resources that you have in the best possible way, generally speaking.
Well said.
Which is a great thing. Which gives me a great segue into asking you about one of our greatest national resources, which is small business. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Now, I know you have shared with me how much you have personally had a passion and actually, in a very concrete way, contributed to the small businesses in our country. Would you just share a little bit about that?
Well, Michael, I sincerely appreciate you recognize me and our company as a larger business, but truly and frankly, under the federal rules, we are considered a small business.
Technically, yes.
And we take advantage of that as much as we can.
Okay, gotcha.
In our world, in my world, we always look for the small business set aside.
Yeah.
There was a time that I was well known for creating small business set-asides, taking open large business procurements and honing them down to a point where if we had the small business capability, that job should be set aside for small business.
Okay.
If small business can perform that function, by law, that function should be set aside for small business. We had a practice that was well known for setting those small business set asides up. We've taken companies that oftentimes, I've taken 6-person companies and set programs aside for a small business, and we've seen $3, $4, $5, $10 million contracts go their way, which I think is good work in anybody's
It is.
mind.
Now, since we're going to share your contact information at the end of this video, I would expect some emails from small business owners asking for bits of advice. So we'll have to stand by for your screener to look through, through those.
I truly believe in small business. I think it's the fabric of the United States. It's what puts people to work.
It is.
It's what America's all about.
Yes, yeah. I think small business owners are generally the best group of people that I run into. They seem to have a good balance in life because they have to deal with reality on a daily basis. And if they're successful, they've learned how to have relationships with people that have to be tending toward being positive. You just can't be a small business owner if you're a constant jerk. Isn't that true?
Truly, no doubt about it.
Yeah,
Nobody wants to do business with somebody they don't like.
They go out of business if they're a jerk. So
That's
it's just
true.
a nice group of people, and that's why I like working with them. Would you be willing to share just a few highlights about, I know you've been very involved in politics at the national level. Would you just share a little bit about that?
Well, sure. You can't have worked for Richard J. Daley and not be a proclaimed political activist. Let's call us.
Okay.
Although I have been I've been very lucky in my career to have been associated and affiliated with the leaders of the Republican Party. Men like Haley Barbour and Chuck Hagel, and we've been very lucky. At some point in time in the last 17 years, I decided that I was no longer voting in Chicago, and I felt like becoming heavily involved in politics here in Virginia. By nature, I want to be involved in where I live and where my children are growing up. And last year, I was the Loudoun County Democrat of the Year, and also last year I was very proud to receive the George C. Marshall Award in Leesburg. And I feel very strongly about being involved in your community, and I come from a family that is service oriented, and I always feel that if you don't give back, you're not involved. And,
Absolutely.
I think it's just the right way to go through life.
And I've looked around Michael's office and seen lots of really interesting pictures with some very prominent people, Ronald Reagan, Bill Clinton, some other people. And so I immediately realized that Michael had quite an interesting life so far. Has there been any thought about putting together a memoir or a biography or something on yourself? Autobiography, I mean?
Well, again, it's more so for my children and the like. You'd like to kind of write some of the stories down.
Yeah.
You can't be an Irish guy and not have a lot of good stories.
Right.
I'm so proud to be the son of an Irishman. My dad was born in Killarney. Never knew his father. Came out to the United States with $19 in his pocket, and he got very lucky and married my mother, who was a lovely girl in Chicago, whose father was from Ireland. Her mother was from England, so I'm a full 25% English, which is probably the gentle side of me. But I really believe that you've got to give back, really, and it's the bottom line of all of it. And I think a busy man is a guy that can get things done, and I try to stay busy and I try to stay involved.
And you enjoy what you're doing, because I don't see any stress in your face about the things you're involved with.
No. Again, I think as long as you're proud of what you do. Look, there are problems in everything. I mean, and each day I look at things kind of like life, like a sine wave. You got good, bad, and if you have a whole lot of projects going, eventually that sine wave kind of levels out to a certain constant. And I've found that if you can keep your wits about you, and keep your principles, you'll get through it. You got to be involved, though, and that's not just in terms of your community. You've got to be involved also in your business world. I mean, you've got to be involved. You've got to know what the rules and regulations are. You've got to know who your representatives are. You have to know what your capabilities are and what you're entitled to. There's a serious nature to all of this that I find. Oftentimes, people just don't know what they're entitled to and what they can ask for, and in some cases, demand. And I think that oftentimes they need a little boost or a little bit of direction, and it's very surprising what a small business can do if they're given the right coaxing.
Yes. Another thing you mentioned earlier was I find it very fascinating that Haley Barbour, very close personal friend of yours, obviously Republican.
Yes.
You're forever a Democrat,
yes, sir.
And yet you guys have a close relationship. And you told me in that conversation that doing the right thing is just never wrong. Doing the right thing for the people you are serving. So I just found that fascinating, that thought process, we seem to have lost it somehow, and it would be nice to get that back, wouldn't it?
Wouldn't it be? I've been proud to come up in a world that government was a career that was revered. You had a respect. You were honored, and I think that's been lost, and I don't know that it's been lost from the government side, maybe from the media side. It's a little too easy to dislike people now, but I'll tell you, it is the distrust is tangible. It's a shame.
Yeah.
And we really need the right kind of people to change that. We've got to get back to some level of participation in government. And
I'm sure you are making every effort to facilitate that return to a more collegial, civil relationship. I'm sure you make your efforts there.
We try. My brother Pat is a fine guy. Patty is. He heads up the Chicago City Council now. He's Rahm Emanuel's floor leader. Truly a guy who has spent his life, doing the right thing.
Mm-hmm.
He's an attorney, well respected in his own right professionally, but has chosen to give back.
Yes.
And as I say, I come from a family that believes in that.
Mm-hmm.
I think we've been heavily involved in an awful lot of the Virginia Commonwealth programs. I know that Senator Kane, who's a good friend, has been in Leesburg many times,
Mm-hmm.
Looking at small business opportunities, women's rights, and the like. I had Mark Warner in Leesburg just 2 weeks ago with 150 of the top women business leaders in Northern Virginia, and I think you need to develop this dialogue.
Yes.
I think all of our representatives need to understand there are issues out there,
Mm-hmm.
and it is their job to address those issues.
Yes.
And you have to, from a business owner, you have to be willing to address those
Yes.
concerns and ask. If you don't ask, you don't get.
Right.
Much of it is in how you ask.
Ask the questions.
But you have to ask the question.
Yeah, you'd never be married if you didn't ask a question.
That's very true. That's very true.
You're unique because you have a business immersion and a politics immersion, which uniquely places you with the ability to affect things. So I'm really happy to have met you and had this interview. In summary, is there something you would say to all those small business owners out there? Any just encouragement or tip you might just say to them from your perspective?
Sure.
And you can address them on the camera.
I think, we do an awful lot of work, not only with the federal government and with small businesses. And again, a small business at the federal level is maybe a little larger than what some of our folks that are listening to this are, below 500 employees. But I think the employee with 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5 people, you go to a place like Leesburg or Middleburg, and see what small business is all about. From a commercial standpoint, I think that if you're looking to do government business, you need to know what your market is. You need to know who needs your product, what your competition is all about, and more importantly, who's looking for it and when is it happening. It helps to have someone that understands the government, but you don't get it unless you try. From a retail standpoint, I think again, like anything else, you have to have something that people want. You have to be a person that people want to do business with, and you have to have persistence. I once had someone say that if you think you're going to do business between the hours of 9 and 5 in a town, well, you're looking to do business with a whole lot of people that aren't working very hard, because you do business, retail business, in a town environment. You're looking to do business after 5 o'clock. You're looking to do business with those that are coming into the town. We've put a great push on what we call the Downtown Improvement Association in Leesburg, and we've made a real impact as business owners and landlords to really attract people to the town. The town council has been very progressive in addressing these issues. They've voted into the capital improvements budget $5 million to literally raise the profile of Leesburg, a bit of a facelift, if you will.
Mm-hmm.
But that facelift will bring new business to Leesburg, and I would encourage anyone. Again, it's all about involvement.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if you don't set your program and address your public officials with what you'd like to have done,
Mm-hmm.
well, you've got no hope.
Yeah, nothing happened.
No hope.
That's right.
No.
Michael O'Connor, it's been a pleasure interviewing you. I'm just going to give a little teaser here that if you watch on the website, you'll see me interviewing a much different dressed, I think, Michael O'Connor at a restaurant in Leesburg called Palio's
Yes.
in the near future, and that's going to be fun also. I really appreciate your time today.
Michael, thanks
It's been
very much.
fantastic.
Very much. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us today on Informed Entrepreneur Magazine. And there's information about Michael's company on the credits at the end, and I'll also be showing you a little bit view of the logo and other things in the office. So watch until the end. Thank you very much.
All the best.